Cancer, your energy left a lasting impression on someone. The cards reveal emotions they weren't prepared to face. This connection may be far more significant than either of you realized. So please, stop whatever you were doing before you clicked on this video because I need your full attention for what I'm about to tell you. Somewhere in your life, right now, at this very moment, there is a person whose entire inner world has been shaken to its foundations, and you are the reason. Not a situation, not a circumstance, not fate or timing or coincidence. You. Something you did, something you became, something you revealed has landed in this person's life with the force of an actual earthquake, and they are still standing in the middle of the shaking, trying to understand how the person they thought they had completely figured out just rearranged everything they believed they knew. And here is the part that made me pull these cards today. The part that kept pressing on me until I sat down at this table and lit this candle and shuffled this deck with your energy in mind. They never expected this from you. Of all the people in their world who might arrive with this kind of force, who might crack open what they thought was settled and certain, you were not on their list. You were filed away. You were categorized. You were understood, or so they believed. And then you did whatever it is you did, and the file burst open, and the category collapsed, and the understanding they were so comfortable with turned out to be a picture that was far, far too small for the actual size of you. So take a breath with me right now, wherever you are, whether you're driving or lying in bed or watching this on a break you almost didn't take. Because this reading is going to ask something different of you than most readings do. It's not going to tell you what's coming toward you. It's going to tell you what has already gone out from you, the impact you have already had, the seismic event you have already caused without fully realizing the magnitude of what you set in motion. If that lands somewhere in your chest, if something in you just went quiet and alert, then this reading found you exactly on time. And I need you to stay with me all the way to the end, because the final cards in this spread describe what grows out of the cracks this earthquake left behind. And I promise you, it is more beautiful than anything that stood on that ground before. Before we begin, if you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad the energy of this message pulled you in. And if you've been part of this community for a while, you already know how this works. This is a collective reading, which means I'm reading for everyone this message is meant to reach, and not every single line will apply to every single person watching. Take what resonates, take what lands in your body with that unmistakable feeling of recognition, and leave the rest for the person sitting somewhere else in the world who needed exactly that piece. Get comfortable, pour yourself something warm, and let's open this up properly, because today I've designed something specific for this message. A spread I'm calling the Seismic Revelation Spread. 12 cards laid out in the shape of a fault line. 6 cards running along the ground of this situation, and 6 cards rising out of the rupture. Because that is exactly what happened here. Something ruptured. Something that looked like solid ground revealed itself to be a surface stretched over a pressure that had been building for a long time. And the pressure was you. The real you, the full you, the you that this person's picture of you could no longer contain. The first 6 cards are going to show us the ground before the shaking, who this person is, how they saw you, what they missed, and what finally triggered the event. The last 6 cards are going to show us everything that rises afterward, how they're processing, what's moving toward you, how the entire dynamic between you is being rebuilt, and who you get to be on the other side of all of it. 12 cards, 1 earthquake. Let's begin. The very first card I'm turning over for you, and I actually laughed out loud when I saw it because Spirit is not being subtle with you today, is the Tower. Of course it is. If there is one card in the entire 78 card deck that describes what you have caused in this person's life, it is this one, the lightning strike, the crown blown off the top of the structure, the sudden and total collapse of something that looked permanent right up until the moment it wasn't. And I want you to really understand what the Tower means here, because most people fear this card. Most people see it and flinch. And today I need you to see it completely differently. Because in this spread, you are not the tower that's falling. You are the lightning. You are the force that arrived without warning and revealed that the structure this person built, the structure of their assumptions about you, their settled picture of you, their comfortable and outdated and too small understanding of who you are, was never as solid as they believed. The tower doesn't destroy true things. Hear me on this. The tower only destroys what was false, what was built on incomplete foundations, what was constructed out of assumption rather than truth. And that is exactly what has collapsed in this person's inner world. Not their love for you, if love is what exists between you. Not the history you share. What collapsed is the false picture, the miniature version of you they had been relating to for months or years. The file they created at some earlier point in your story and never updated because they stopped actually looking at you a long time ago. That picture is now rubble. And they are standing in the middle of that rubble right now, dust still in the air, staring at the actual you, the full-sized you, the you they never bothered to imagine. And they do not know what to do with what they're seeing. The tower tells me this was sudden for them. There was no gradual dawning, no slow reconsideration. There was a before and there was an after. And the line between them is a single moment, a single piece of undeniable evidence about who you actually are. For some of you, you know exactly what that moment was. You can feel it right now, the memory of it rising up as I speak. For others of you, the moment passed without you even registering it as significant. Because to you, it was just you being you. Just an ordinary Tuesday. Just you doing what you do. And you had no idea that from where they were standing, the sky had just split open. That's the thing about earthquakes. The epicenter often feels the shaking least. You were the epicenter. You are always the last to know how far your own force travels. The second card in the foundation row is the Eight of Pentacles. And this card broke my heart a little bit when I pulled it, in the most tender way, because it tells the story of everything that led up to this earthquake, all the quiet years of it, all the unglamorous, unwitnessed work of it. The Eight of Pentacles shows a craftsman bent over his bench, carving pentacle after pentacle, each one a little better than the last, completely absorbed in the work. And here is the detail that matters. His back is turned to the town in the distance. Nobody is watching him. There is no audience, no applause, no recognition. There is just the work and the slow, patient, compounding improvement that comes from doing the work, whether anyone sees it or not. That craftsman is you. While this person held their little outdated snapshot of you, you were becoming. You were growing in rooms they never entered, developing in silences they never listened to, strengthening in struggles they never asked about. Every skill you sharpened, every hard lesson you metabolized, every version of yourself you outgrew and shed like a skin, all of it happened outside the frame of the picture they were holding. And this is why the earthquake hit them so hard. Do you understand? Because the distance between their picture of you and the reality of you didn't appear overnight. It grew a millimeter at a time, over months, over years. Every single day that you kept working on yourself, while they kept looking at the file instead of the person. Pressure along a fault line builds exactly this way. Silently, invisibly, in increments too small to notice, until the accumulated difference between what is assumed and what is real becomes so vast that the ground has no choice but to correct itself violently. Your growth was the pressure. Their inattention was the fault line. The earthquake was inevitable. And I want to honor something here, because I can feel it in this card. I can feel how lonely some of that building was for you. There were nights you wondered if any of it mattered. There were moments you achieved something quietly and looked around and realized there was no one clapping, no one who even understood what it had cost you. And you swallowed that and kept going. Some of you cried about this, in the car, in the shower, in the small private places where the unseen go to feel their unseenness. I need you to hear this clearly today. None of it was wasted. Not 1 hour of it. Every pentacle you carved in the dark is part of the force that just rearranged someone's entire understanding of reality. The work witnessed itself. And now, finally, so does everyone else. Card 3, and this one gave me chills, is the moon in reverse. And if you know this deck, you know the moon is the card of illusion, of things seen dimly and wrongly, of the fog that sits between perception and truth. Upright, the moon says the illusion is active, the fog is thick, people are navigating by distorted light. But reversed, the way it fell on this table today, the moon says the illusion is collapsing. The fog is burning off. What was hidden is becoming visible. And what was believed is being exposed as a misreading. This card is describing the inside of that person's mind right now. And I want to walk you through what's actually happening in there, because I think you deserve to understand the full anatomy of this earthquake. For a long time, this person was not seeing you. They were seeing a moonlit version of you, a version distorted by old information, by their own assumptions, by the particular angle from which they first met you, by whatever role you occupied in their life when their picture of you first hardened into place. Maybe they met you when you were younger, softer, less formed, and the picture froze there. Maybe they met you in a season of struggle and filed you under struggling. Maybe they only ever saw one facet of you, the accommodating one, the quiet one, the dependable one, the one who didn't make waves, and they mistook the facet for the whole diamond. However it happened, they were relating to a projection, a shadow on the wall, a version of you cast by old light. And here is what the moon reverse tells me about how they're feeling, now that the projection has been destroyed. They are disoriented in a very specific way because it isn't just their picture of you that's been shaken, it's their trust in their own perception. Follow me here because this is the deepest layer of the earthquake. When you discover that you were profoundly wrong about a person you were confident you knew, the shock isn't only about them, it's about you. It's the vertigo of realizing your own eyes have been unreliable, that your own certainty was built on fog. And once that vertigo sets in, it spreads to everything. If I was this wrong about them, what else am I wrong about? Who else have I filed incorrectly? What else is standing right in front of me at full size while I relate to a miniature? That is the question haunting this person right now. And it is one of the most transformative questions a human being can be forced to ask. You did that. You didn't just show them who you are. You upgraded the way they see, permanently. The moon reversed is the fog lifting off their entire life, and you are the wind that moved it. The fourth card in the ground row is the Queen of Swords, and whether you identify as feminine, masculine, or anywhere at all on the spectrum, I need you to receive this card as a portrait, because that is what it is in this position. This is the version of you that broke through the picture. This is who they finally saw. The Queen of Swords sits high on her throne with her blade raised straight up, not aggressively, not defensively, just cleanly. And her other hand is extended, open, as if to say, I will receive the truth and only the truth. She is clarity embodied. She is the end of pretending. She is what a person becomes when they have been through enough to stop negotiating with reality. When they've been misunderstood enough times to stop performing for anyone's comfort. When they've earned, through actual lived experience, the right to be exactly what they are without apology or explanation. That is the energy this person witnessed in you, and I want to be precise about why it shook them. Because it wasn't only what you did, it was the quality with which you did it. There was a groundedness in you that they had never priced in, a calm, a clean edge. When you did the thing, whatever the thing was, you didn't do it messily or reactively, or in a way they could dismiss as an outburst, a fluke, a phase. You did it with the composure of someone who had clearly been this person for a while. And that is what made it undeniable. You cannot argue with a Queen of Swords moment. You cannot explain it away. It doesn't leave room for interpretation because it arrives without excess, without drama, without any of the wobble that lets an observer say, oh, they're just upset. Oh, that's not really them. It was really you. It was so evidently, thoroughly, unmistakably really you that their entire filing system failed on contact. And there's something else in this card I have to name. The Queen of Swords has known sorrow. Traditionally, she is the one who has lost, who has grieved, who has walked through the hard weather of life and come out the other side with her vision sharpened rather than her spirit broken. This person, on some level, is now realizing that too. They are realizing that the strength they just witnessed was forged somewhere in experiences they either didn't know about or didn't take seriously. And that realization is producing its own tremor of respect and maybe even its own quiet shame because they are starting to understand that the person they underestimated had already survived things that would have justified far more credit than they ever extended to you. Card 5 is the Seven of Wands, and this is the trigger card, the card sitting in the position of what actually caused the earthquake. And I find it so fitting that it landed here. Because the Seven of Wands is the card of standing your ground on high terrain, while challenges rise from below. One figure holding a single wand against 6 coming up at them, and holding anyway. Now, this trigger is going to look different across everyone watching, and I want to branch this out properly because I can feel distinct groups within this collective. For some of you, the earthquake trigger was an achievement, something you accomplished, created, completed, or won that exceeded every ceiling this person had quietly installed above your head. Maybe it was professional, a promotion, a launch, a body of work, a result that could be measured and could not be argued with. Maybe it was personal, a transformation of your health, your habits, your circumstances. Something visible enough that when they saw it, the evidence did the talking before you said a single word. For this group, the Seven of Wands is the years you defended your ambition against every subtle discouragement, every raised eyebrow, every well-meaning voice that suggested you were reaching too far. And the achievement was the moment the high ground became visible to everyone who ever doubted you'd reach it. For others of you, and I feel this group very strongly today, the trigger was a refusal. You said no. You walked away from something, ended something, declined something, or drew a line that this person was absolutely certain you would never draw. They had you calculated. They had run the numbers on you, consciously or not. And the numbers said, this person always bends. This person always accommodates. This person can be counted on to absorb whatever we hand them. And then you didn't bend. You stood there on your hill with your one wand and you held. and the calculation shattered. And I want you to understand that for this group, the refusal was the single most powerful thing you could have done. More powerful than any achievement, because it rewrote the terms of every interaction going forward. And for a third group of you, the trigger was quieter than either of those. It wasn't a moment of doing it all. It was a moment of being. An instance where the mask you didn't even realize you'd been wearing slipped, or was set down deliberately, and the unedited, unmanaged, full-strength version of you was simply present in a room. And they saw it. And something in them registered that this right here, is who has been standing next to me all along, and I never once looked at them properly. Whichever group you belong to, and some of you belong to more than one, the common thread the Seven of Wands is showing me is that the trigger involved you taking up your actual size. Not performing size, not demanding recognition, simply ceasing to shrink. An earthquake, in the end, is just the ground refusing to stay compressed. You refuse to stay compressed. The shaking is what honesty sounds like when it finally moves through a relationship that was built on a miscalculation. The sixth and final card of the foundation row is the Six of Cups, and this card is going to take us somewhere tender, so stay with me. The Six of Cups is the card of nostalgia, of memory, of looking back at what was. And in this position, the position of what's moving through this person's heart as they stand in the rubble, it tells me something that I think will surprise you. They are grieving. Underneath the shock, underneath the disorientation, underneath the scramble to rebuild their understanding of you, there is a genuine, aching grief. And it is grief for lost time. Because here is what happens when someone discovers that a person in their life has been larger, deeper, stronger, and more remarkable than they ever perceived. Their memory reorganizes itself. Every past interaction gets re-examined under the new light. They start scrolling back through the archive of your shared history, and everywhere they look, they now see the evidence that was there all along. The time you said that insightful thing and they half listened. The time you were quietly carrying something enormous and they never asked. The time you showed them exactly who you were and they smiled past it because the file said otherwise. All of those moments are replaying for them now, and each one lands with a small, sharp pang. Because each one is a moment they could have known you, really known you, and didn't. The Six of Cups in this position is the ache of retroactive recognition. It's them thinking, how many years did I spend next to this person while seeing a fraction of them? What conversations did we never have because I assumed I already knew what they'd say? What closeness did I forfeit to my own certainty? And I want to say something to you directly about this grief of theirs, because I know how complicated it might feel to hear about it. You might feel a flash of vindication, and that's allowed. You're human. And being unseen for a long time earns you a moment of finally. You might also feel a pull to comfort them, to rush in and make their discomfort smaller. And I want to gently caution you about that instinct, because their grief is doing important work. It is the sensation of their perception expanding. And perception, like muscle, only grows under strain. If you rush in and absorb their discomfort for them, if you minimize what happened, if you say, oh, it's fine, it's nothing, you will be handing them a brand new, too small picture to replace the one that just broke. Let them grieve the time they lost. Let them feel the full cost of underestimating you. Not out of cruelty, but out of respect for the correction that is trying to complete itself. The relationship that is coming, and we're going to see it clearly in the second half of this spread, is being built out of exactly this material: their grief, their humbling, their reorganized memory. And it can only be built if the material is allowed to fully form. Now we cross the fault line and we begin the rising row, the 6 cards that describe everything growing out of this rupture. And the first card on this side, card 7, is the Hanged Man. This is the card of suspension, of a pause that looks like stillness from the outside, but is actually the most profound kind of motion. The motion of a perspective turning itself completely upside down. And this card is telling me exactly where this person is right now, this week, this month, in real time. They have gone quiet. Some of you have noticed it. There's been a change in their rhythm around you. Maybe fewer messages, maybe a strange new carefulness in how they speak to you. Maybe a quality of watching. You've caught them looking at you in a way you can't quite name, looking at you the way you look at a word you've read 1,000 times that suddenly seems spelled wrong, or rather, seems spelled right for the first time. Do not misread this quiet. I need to say that clearly, because I know some of you have been misreading it. This distance is not rejection. This silence is not them pulling away from you in judgment or in anger. This is the Hanged Man's silence. The silence of someone hanging upside down from the tree of their own assumptions, letting all the loose change fall out of their pockets, watching everything they thought they knew about you drift to the ground, and slowly, beginning to see the world, and you in it, from an entirely inverted angle. Processing on this scale cannot be rushed, and it cannot be performed socially. It happens in solitude, in the shower, on drives, at 2 a.m. when they replay the moment of the earthquake for the 40th time, and it still refuses to fit inside their old picture of you. The Hanged Man also carries the theme of willing surrender, and this is beautiful because it tells me this person is not fighting the new truth about you. There was maybe a brief window at the very beginning where they tried, where the ego did what egos do and reached for any explanation that would let the old picture survive. Luck, fluke, someone must have helped them. This won't last. But that window has closed or is closing. The Hanged Man tells me they have stopped resisting and started absorbing. They are letting the new reality of you rewrite them. And that rewriting takes exactly as long as it takes. So if you have been anxious about the quiet, if you've been tempted to poke at it, to ask if everything's okay, to fill the space with reassurance, hear this guidance from the cards today. Let the suspension complete. A person hanging upside down is gaining a vision they could never gain standing up. And the vision they are gaining is of you, at full size, for the first time. That is worth every day of the silence. Card 8, and this is where the energy of the reading turns and starts flowing in your direction, is the Knight of Cups. Oh, I love this card in this position. The Knight of Cups is the slowest of the 4 knights, and the most deliberate. He doesn't charge. He rides at a walk, cup extended before him, an offering carried carefully so that not a drop spills. And in this spread, in the position of what is coming toward you out of this earthquake, he tells me one thing with total clarity. This person is going to move toward you, not away. Toward. After the suspension we just saw in the Hanged Man, after the processing completes, the direction of their motion is already decided, and it is decided in your favor. I told you earlier that people who experience this kind of seismic revision of someone tend to do one of 2 things. They recede or they approach. And the cards are unambiguous today. This person approaches. But I want to describe the quality of the approach, because it will not necessarily look the way you might imagine, and I don't want you to miss it when it arrives. The Knight of Cups rarely leads with words like, "I underestimated you," "I'm sorry," "I see you now." Some of you will get those words, especially those of you dealing with someone who has done real inner work. And if the explicit apology comes, receive it. It will be one of the most meaningful things ever said to you. But for most of you, the apology will be behavioral. And I need you to know how to recognize a behavioral apology because they are easy to miss if you're waiting for a speech. A behavioral apology looks like this. They start asking you real questions. Questions about your thoughts, your plans, your inner world. Questions they never used to ask because they assumed they already knew the answers. They start deferring to you in areas where they used to talk over you. They remember things you say now, small things, and reference them later, proof that they are actually listening for the first time in years. They show up differently in rooms with you, more attentive, more careful with your name in their mouth when they speak about you to others. And yes, some of you will hear about this secondhand. Someone will tell you, they've been speaking about you so differently lately. And that report will be your confirmation that everything I'm describing today is real. There may also be an offering, the Knight's Cup made literal, an invitation, a gesture, a door opened, an opportunity extended, something given to you that functions as an unspoken acknowledgement that they now understand what you're worth. For some of you, this is romantic in nature, and you know exactly who I'm talking about. This person whose feelings have been jarred loose by seeing your full size, whose admiration has caught fire into something more, and they are riding toward you, slowly, with a heart that feels too full to explain. For others, this is family, a parent, a sibling, someone whose respect you stopped hoping for years ago. And I want to prepare you gently, because when that respect finally arrives after all this time, it may bring up more emotion in you than you expect. Whoever your rider is, the message of this card is patience and open gates. Something sincere is making its way to you at a walking pace. Let it complete the journey. Card 9, sitting right at the heart of the rising row, is Justice. And when I turned this card over, I actually sat back in my chair, because this is the card that transforms this reading from a story about one moment into a story about the rest of your life with this person. Justice is the card of scales coming back into balance, of accounts being settled, of truth being weighed accurately at last. And in this position, it is telling me something about your relationship with this person that I suspect many of you have felt for years without ever having language for it. There has been an imbalance between you, a quiet, structural, long-running imbalance, and it ran along the axis of perception. Think about what it actually means in practical, daily terms when one person in a relationship sees the other at a fraction of their true size. It means one of you was always giving more visibility than you received. You saw them fully, or at least you tried to. You extended them the courtesy of ongoing attention, of updated understanding. And in return, you were seen partially, filed, summarized. It means your contributions were weighed on a rigged scale, your insights discounted before they were even fully heard, your efforts absorbed as expected, rather than appreciated as chosen. It means, in 100 small interactions, you were positioned slightly below your actual station, spoken to in a register just a little beneath what you deserved, considered just a little less than you should have been considered. And here is the thing about that kind of imbalance. It compounds. Every interaction built on a miscalculation deepens the miscalculation. And over time, the entire architecture of the relationship gets constructed at the wrong scale, like a house built from blueprints with an error on page 1. Justice in this position tells me that the earthquake did not just shake a picture, it condemned that entire architecture. The relationship as it was cannot be rebuilt. And I mean that as the best possible news. Because what gets rebuilt in its place is being drawn from corrected blueprints. The scales are being recalibrated with your true weight on them for the first time. Practically, over the coming weeks and months, this looks like a series of recalibrations, some of which may feel almost disorienting to you because you've adapted so thoroughly to being underweighted. They will make space for your opinion, and you'll feel strange filling it. They will give your words a gravity you're not used to them having, and you may catch yourself over-explaining out of old habit, justifying positions that no longer require justification. Notice when you do that. Gently stop. The era of arguing for your own worth in this dynamic is over. The earthquake closed that case, and justice is here to enforce the verdict. One more thing this card insists I say. Do not use the new balance as a weapon. Some of you carry real hurt from the years of being underestimated, and there will be moments where the temptation arises to make them feel it, to reference the past with an edge, to collect on old debts with interest. Justice asks for accuracy, not vengeance. The most powerful thing you can do on a corrected scale is simply stand on it, at full weight, with grace. The scale itself will do all the talking that needs to be done. Card 10 is the Star, and if you know anything about the order of the major arcana, you know why I got emotional seeing it here. Because in the Tarot's great story, the Star is the card that comes directly after the Tower. Directly after. The deck itself teaches that this is the sequence of the universe. First the lightning, then the collapse, then the dust, and then, when the shaking has completely stopped and the night is at its darkest and quietest, a figure kneels by the water under an enormous open sky and begins, gently, to pour. The Star is what grows through the cracks. And in this reading, it is describing the new relationship, the new dynamic, the new reality that is already germinating in the broken ground between you and this person. I want to describe its qualities because they are specific. The first quality is honesty. The relationship that existed before the earthquake, whatever warmth or history it contained, had a dishonesty built into its foundation. Not a dishonesty of lies, but a dishonesty of scale. It was a relationship between them and a version of you that did not exist. Every conversation, every plan, every conflict was slightly distorted by that error. What grows now is the first fully honest connection you have ever had with this person. A connection between two accurate pictures. And I promise you, even the difficult moments of an honest relationship feel cleaner than the pleasant moments of a distorted one. The second quality is nakedness, and I mean that in the way the Star means it. The figure on this card wears nothing, hides nothing, performs nothing, and that is the invitation being extended to you. For years around this person, you managed yourself, you edited, you shrank. You translated yourself into a size their picture could receive, often so automatically you didn't notice you were doing it. That management can end now. The earthquake destroyed the container you were shrinking to fit, and there is no reason to keep folding yourself into the shape of a box that no longer exists. The third quality is renewal of hope, and this one is for a specific group of you watching. The ones who had quietly given up on ever being seen by this person. The ones who made peace, or something that impersonated peace, with being permanently misunderstood in this relationship. Who decided some years ago that this is just how it is with them, and lowered the ceiling of their expectations accordingly. The Star is speaking directly to you. That ceiling just cracked open along with everything else, and the sky you're looking at now is real. Hope in this relationship is no longer naive. It is evidence-based. And the fourth quality, the one I'll leave you with before we move on, is generosity. The figure of the star pours water back into the pool and onto the land, endlessly, without anxiety, because she is drawing from a source that does not run dry. That is you on the other side of this. When you are finally seen at full size, an enormous amount of energy gets freed up. All the energy you were spending on managing, shrinking, translating, and silently absorbing the ache of invisibility. And that energy returns to you as pure surplus. You are about to have more to give, to this person and to everyone, than you have had in years. Not because you changed, but because you stopped paying the tax of being underestimated. Card 11 is the Two of Cups, and this card made me smile because it completes something the Knight of Cups began 3 cards ago. The Knight was the approach, the offering carried toward you at a walking pace. The Two of Cups is the arrival, the actual meeting. And I want you to look at what this card shows, because every detail matters for your situation. 2 figures stand facing each other on level ground. And I need to emphasize that, level ground. The same earth the earthquake just finished rearranging, now settled, now flat, now holding 2 people at equal height for the first time. Each holds a cup, each extends it. The exchange is mutual, eye to eye. Neither figure elevated above the other, neither figure diminished. And above their cups rises the caduceus and the lion's head, ancient symbols of healing and of passionate, honest connection. This card is the future of your relationship with this person. And it is telling me that what's coming is not merely a repaired version of what you had. It is a different category of relationship entirely. What you had before was, structurally, a relationship between unequals. Not because you were actually unequal, but because the perception of you was unequal. And perception is the ground a relationship stands on. What is coming is the first genuinely mutual connection between you. And there is going to be a specific moment, and I want you to watch for it so that you can be fully present when it happens. A specific conversation or encounter that will feel like meeting this person for the first time. It might be marked by them saying something they have never said, a question of real depth, an acknowledgement, a vulnerability they've never shown you, because you cannot be vulnerable with someone you're looking down at, only with someone you're looking across at. It might be marked by a quality of eye contact that lasts a beat longer than usual. And in that beat, something silently agreed upon. We are starting over, aren't we? And the answer passing back, just as silently, yes. For those of you in the romantic group, this card in this position is one of the most beautiful omens the deck can offer. The Two of Cups is the soul recognition card, the card of a bond consecrated by mutual sight. And following an earthquake of the kind we've described, it tells me that what this person is beginning to feel for you is not infatuation with your newly revealed accomplishments. It is something rarer. The falling toward that happens when someone finally sees the whole of another person and finds the whole more compelling than any partial picture ever was. For those of you in the family group, this card is the meal, the visit, the phone call, where for the first time in your adult life, perhaps, you are spoken to as a full peer. And I want you to let that land. When it comes, don't deflect it, don't crack a joke through it, let yourself be met. And for those of you where this person is a friend, a colleague, a rival even, the Two of Cups promises a collaboration or a reconciliation conducted on entirely new terms. Terms you would have been the only one honoring before. Whatever form your meeting takes, come to it as the Queen of Swords we saw earlier. Clear, grounded, generous, and fully sized. Bring your actual self to the level ground. That is all that's required. The meeting does the rest. And now the final card of the Seismic Revelation spread, card 12, the card of who you get to be on the other side of all of this. And it is the Sun. Of course it is. The most radiant card in the deck, the card of full visibility, of truth in daylight, of a joy so complete it doesn't need to explain itself. And in this position, it delivers the closing message of this entire reading, so I want to give it the space it deserves. The Sun is telling you that the era of your invisibility is ending, and not just with this one person. Understand what actually happened here. The earthquake we have spent this whole reading describing was not caused by an action you performed once and must now perform again and again to maintain the effect. It was caused by a revelation of what was already true, and revelations of that kind do not reverse. The Sun does not go back into eclipse because someone's picture of it was smaller. What has become visible stays visible. And more than that, it keeps becoming visible because you have crossed a threshold that is less about them and entirely about you. Somewhere in the middle of causing this earthquake, you stopped shrinking. And a person who has stopped shrinking cannot be filed again. Not by this person, not by the next one, not by anyone. The Sun also tells me something about how you are meant to carry this new visibility. And this is the guidance portion, so take this with you. Carry it the way the Sun carries its light, which is to say, without effort, without announcement, and without apology. The Sun does not campaign for recognition. It does not knock on windows demanding to be acknowledged. It simply shines at full strength as its natural, unedited state of being. And the world organizes itself around that fact. That is your assignment now. Not to perform your size, not to reference the earthquake, not to remind anyone of what they missed, but simply to continue existing at full strength as your default, ordinary, daily condition. The child on this card rides without a saddle, arms open, completely unguarded. And that detail is for you too. Because after years of being underestimated, some of you have developed armor, a bracing, a preemptive flinch, a readiness to defend your worth at a moment's notice. And the Sun is gently telling you that the armor has completed its service and can be set down. You do not have to brace anymore. The evidence is in the world now. The earthquake is on the record. And here is the very last thing this card whispers. And it is the sentence I want you to carry out of this reading and into your week. You were never too much. You were simply too much for a picture that was too small. And the picture, not you, is what just got corrected. The ground has stopped shaking. The sun is up. Walk out into it at full size. So let's bring this all the way home, my loves, because we have traveled a long road together in this reading. 12 cards, one fault line, one seismic event with your name written at the epicenter. We saw the tower confirm that yes, this really happened, a sudden, total collapse of someone's too small picture of you. We saw the Eight of Pentacles honor all the unwitnessed years of becoming that built the pressure. We saw the moon reversed, lifting the fog off their perception. The Queen of Swords standing as the portrait of who they finally saw. The Seven of Wands marking the trigger, the achievement, the refusal, or the moment of pure, unmanaged presence that made you undeniable. And the Six of Cups revealing the tender grief they now carry for all the time they spent beside you without truly seeing you. Then we crossed the fault line, and we watched what rises. The Hanged Man told us their quiet is processing, not rejection. The Knight of Cups promised movement toward you, an approach, an offering, an apology spoken in the language of changed behavior. Justice decreed the permanent rebalancing of a dynamic that ran unequal for far too long. The stars showed us the honest, naked, hopeful, generous new connection already growing through the cracks. The Two of Cups gave us the meeting on level ground, the first true meeting you will ever have had with this person. And the Sun closed the spread with the truth above all truths, that you are visible now, permanently. And the only thing left to do is live at full size, without apology. If this reading found you, it found you for a reason, and I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, do you know what you did? Do you know exactly which moment was the earthquake trigger? Or did this reading just hand you the words for something you felt happening, but couldn't name? Tell me who the person is, in whatever way feels safe to share. The friend, the family member, the ex, the colleague, the one who filed you away and just watched the file explode. I read your comments, all of them, and I promise you the stories under this video are going to give somebody else watching the exact confirmation they need. If this message touched something in you, press that like button so the algorithm carries this earthquake to the next person who caused one without knowing it. Subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't already, because the aftershocks of this energy are still moving, and there is more to say in the readings ahead. Share this with someone who has been underestimated for far too long. You know exactly who they are, and they need these 50 minutes more than they know. Until we meet again at this table, walk gently, but walk at full size. Let them rebuild their picture of you as large as the truth requires. And remember, the earthquake is already over. The shaking has already stopped. And everything growing up through those cracks is growing in your favor. What was destroyed was only ever the picture that was too small for you. What remains is you, undeniable, in full daylight, from this moment forward. I love you all. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you in the next reading.